the fairer sex, the second sex, the weaker sex. Women today have destroyed those stereotypes.
Being a woman is being strong and being a conqueror.
When you live in a society that's constantly telling you what you can and can't do, if you have a warrior spirit, you have to find some way to release that.
Throughout history, women have empowered themselves as warriors, matriarchs, murderers, and heads of state.
Women have always found ways to subvert male rule, and there's a rich archive of women who have killed, women who have ruled, women who have taken power.
Individual women and whole societies have bucked the tide of male domination and control.
This guy told the audience that if we elected a woman, we would be the laughingstock of all the tribes.
From the villages of Eastern Europe to the mountains of China and the streets of Brooklyn, these are the stories of women who've conquered a man's world. Today, the Amazon spirit is alive in the boxing ring, where women wail away against other women, driven only by an intense desire to fight.
Women are the fiercest warriors. They are. In my mind, there's no second thought.
When you hit a man will look at the other guy and say, oh, you got me with a good shot. A woman is not like that. You'll see rage in her eyes and she'll be like, I'm gonna kill you.
They just fight from the heart, they fight with passion, everything comes out because it's more of a war of the wills, it's a war of the spirit, it's a war of the mind. Women are tapping into history, being repressed, like having so much at stake, having so much to prove.
Nowhere is that more true than at Gleason's Gym in Brooklyn, New York. Gleason's has been a home to Muhammad Ali, Jake LaMotta, and other boxing legends, and it's where the warrior women of Team Freeform train.
Thus far, we've built 14 champions, and we've won 45 championships or titles. We're the best in the amateurs, absolutely the best.
My name's Kara Kashtanova. I'm the two-time Golden Gloves champion. I was ranked #2 in the nation by USA Boxing. Since I was born, you could say I was an aggressive person. I was the type of person that doesn't take no for an answer. I do what I want to do. I don't care what anyone thinks. What, you don't think I could win 119? Is that what you're trying to say? I could have possibly been an Amazon in a past life. You know, I definitely feel a connection to any type of female warrior. My father was the boxer, and he was in the Marines. Between the ages of 5 and 10, he would give us drills. Like, we would hit the bag. Then he would put cones in the street, and we would do wind sprints. He would bang pots and pans in the morning to wake us up out of bed.
Kara basically lost her father at an early age. The mother had to fend for herself, raise Kara with 3 brothers, so she basically had to learn real quick how to stand up for herself.
I consider boxing kind of like a dance, and it makes me happy. Sometimes if you look at someone's eyes, you tend to become confused and emotional. They might try to trick you a little bit. If I hit someone really hard, sometimes I do feel a little guilty. But then there's times when I'm like, yeah, like, I love it. My first fight that I actually won, the girl, she was bleeding all over my shirt. And I have this shirt in my closet with her blood on it that I like to look at sometimes. When I box, I do leave some of my makeup on. I don't wash my face before I go into the ring because, you know, the way I look at it is like it's war paint. Sometimes someone will punch me in the eye and I'll see my eye print on their glove. There's no feeling like being in the ring. All of a sudden it just clicks and you don't feel yourself anymore. And it's like you're just boxing. You move out of the way and you kind of feel it like just graze your face and you hear it go, whew. You actually hear that and you're like, wow, I just moved the way out of that punch. You know, it's a really cool feeling. Like being that close to danger, you know, and it just slipping you by.
Vanessa Greco also likes the sound and feel of danger. Four-time Golden Gloves champ, she found her inner Amazon after dating a guy who didn't know the meaning of no.
He kept trying to touch me, and I finally, after the third time of saying no, said, "You touch me again, I'm gonna punch you dead in the face." So he tried again, and me and him got into a fist fight. So after that, I figured the next time that somebody tried to lay their hands on me, I was gonna hurt them. I was gonna put them in a body cast. I punched too hard. So I have to cushion it, otherwise my knuckles don't look too pretty.
Vanessa first met Cara Castronuova in an exhibition fight and barely beat her. Cara showed up at Gleason's a week later with a warrior's thirst for vengeance.
Cara thought she won the fight, and that pissed me off. We went at it, and I remember at that point I was in better shape than Cara was. I had Cara up against the ropes, and I was working the body, and I was hearing her grunt. And the more I heard her grunt, the harder I hit.
We didn't like each other. I thought she was just a nasty person, to be honest, because every time I saw her, she was like giving me a dirty look.
How you feel?
My eyelashes still on? I think after like round 4, I was just like tired, and Lee's like, "You had enough yet?" And I'm like, "No." I think we went up to maybe like, I'm not even kidding, like 12 rounds. Neither one of us wanted to say that we were tired and that we had enough.
I've seen guys under the same scenario and they bow out. They'll tell me between rounds, "I'm done." Most women who box will never give up in the ring. Never. They have to be beat senseless before they stop.
There was nothing bad we could say about each other after doing what we did to each other and both of us taking it. Nothing, like nothing. It's like when you go to war, you become kind of bonded in a weird way.
Some women are born to fight. For others, fighting is a matter of physical and psychological survival.
The deepest part of boxing for me is probably my sanity.
Historically, female boxing has been rare. Minoan women reportedly duked it out in 1500 BC. Women squared off in 1720s London in free-for-alls that resulted in serious injury. An English fairground fighter named Polly Burns is said to have sparred with heavyweight legend Jack Johnson during World War I. But it wasn't until the 1970s that feminism and a burgeoning fitness culture inspired more and more women to use their fists like men and began to break down attitudes about women who fight.
If you have a young boy who's 14 or 15 years old, there's an expectation that at some point he'll get into a fight. But for a 14 or 15-year-old girl to be engaging in fist fights is considered to be the indication of a very deep social problem.
The women who come to Gleason's gym in Brooklyn work hard to reach their physical peak.
Three minutes is a lifetime when you're in the ring. You want to throw a punch and it's like, you can't get it out sometimes.
But they have to labor just as much to overcome years of societal conditioning that taught them fighting is wrong.
My first sparring session, I was terrified to hit the girl. I'm a really nice girl at heart, but they said, if you can't hit her your hardest, then we know that you're not meant to do this sport. The first punch that I threw at her landed square in the nose. She started bleeding everywhere. And I looked at my coach, and I looked at her coach, and I looked at her, and they said, "What are you gonna do?" I kept going, and I never looked back. That's how I got into boxing.
When you live in a society that's constantly telling you what you can and can't do, giving you limitations or setting up limitations for you, if you have a warrior spirit, you have to find some way to release that.
I'm Keisha Fire McLeod Wells, AKA Black Barbie. And I am 3-time Golden Glove champion, 3-time Empire State champion, 2-time Metro champion, and world champion for ringside.
All the women on Team Freeform have gone toe-to-toe with sexist ideas about throwing a punch, but none more so than Fire. She was thrown out of her house at 17 for getting into a fistfight with her stepdad.
My mom took his side. Since then, I had a lot of trust issues with men. I had a problem with authority. I didn't like managers. I was just an angry person.
Fire moved in with her aunt and eventually found her refuge in the gym.
I didn't know what my niche was. I didn't know what I wanted to do. You know, I lived day to day. So when I got into boxing, that was the first thing that I realized after competing and being on the team, that this is what I was made to do.
Coach Shabaka noticed Fire's furious workouts at Gleason's, but that's not what caught his eye.
Me being tall and thin, so he knew the average height at my weight was about 5'3", 5'4", and he knew that I would have that jab, that ability to keep them away, and he was right.
Fire is a freak for her division. She beat a 4-time Golden Gloves champion in her 4th fight. And the girl she beat was ranked number 2 in the nation.
In the ring, I don't even see a person. I'm just there to dodge the punches and to hopefully make it a quick fight and knock them out. The deepest part of boxing for me is probably my sanity. I had a lot of mental instability before, and now I see me at my best, and that's what keeps me sane.
History turned the Amazons from fact into myth. At Gleason's gym, a new generation of women warriors is determined not to let that happen again.
If you look back in history, there were female warriors. You're talking about real warriors who are out there fighting real wars. I feel that it has always been suppressed.
The emotions are different from men and women when we box. We have to work a lot harder to prove ourselves than men do. We already have so many strikes against us already as being women. They're already waiting to laugh.
Look at this. A 12-year-old is bigger than you.
I know.
Being a woman is being strong and being a conqueror. You're really coming through for yourself in the end, and I think that boxing encompasses all of that. It makes you stronger as a female.
I always felt like I was too weak or I wasn't good enough. And now I see that I am. I totally believe in myself, which is something I never did until I got into this sport.
By the way, any armchair boxer who thinks he can get into the ring with one of these women and hold his own, think again.
He's going to get clocked, and he's most likely going to get hurt. Bottom line. So if you have that fantasy, I would just say, shelve it. You know, keep it a fantasy, don't get in the ring.